Quest moves into the Harrison household, and Quest polishes Sadie's shoes. He takes out the trash. He cooks. He goes to work and does his job, and then he rubs Sadie's feet because she's been in heels all day at his job while he could be on his lunch break, and this bitch still is like on some dumb shit. When I tell you, had that been me, all the lyrics to Cater to You would be in my Twitter bio. Like, you would have me saying some dumb shit. Like,
I would be quoting like all the hoteps, like, be his rib, sis, be his helpmate, build your man, nation build. Because on top of this, she's getting her back blown out every night.
Everyone, this is Alex.
And this is Em.
Welcome to the latest episode of The Good, the Bad, the Basic. This is the podcast for TV lovers, movie buffs, and binge watchers of all ages. On this podcast, we'll be discussing what we love, what we hate, and what was just a bit problematic about the TV and movies that we're addicted to, and do a bit of rewriting where necessary.
For much more exclusive content, become a show producer on Patreon and get access to after the episode bonuses, curated playlists, movie reviews, music video retrospectives, and so much more. Join the GBB family at patreon.com/goodbadbasic.
Today we'll be discussing CTV's teen musical dramedy, Instant Star.
Instant Star is a story of Jude Harrison, a teenage girl who's recently won a musical competition and must juggle her personal and professional lives when she is suddenly thrust into the limelight.
The series navigates the highs and lows of being a teen celebrity and all the pros and cons associated with stardom. So how did this premise pan out? And what is it about Instant Star that made it so enjoyable to watch? Stay tuned.
All right, everyone. So here are some details about Instant Star. It is a comedy drama, teen drama, and a musical drama. It was created by Linda Schuyler, and it aired from September 15th, 2004 until June 26, 2008. It lasted 4 seasons and a total of 52 episodes. The series stars Alex Johnson as Jude Harrison, who also serves as the series narrator, Tim Rosen as Tommy Q, Tom Quincy, Laura Vandervoot as Sadie Harrison, Jude's sister, Christopher Turner as Jamie Andrews, Simon Reynolds as Stuart Harrison, Jude and Sadie's father, Jane Sowerby as Victoria Harrison, Jude and Sadie's mother, Wes Williams as Darius Mills, Mark Taylor as Quest, Tyler Kite as Vincent Spiderman, and for the first season, Matthew Brown as Shay Mills. So a lot of these names are probably not going to be well known to American viewers. This is a CTV show, although American audiences were able to watch it on the USA network, The Noggin, or The N. Which was like Noggin for teenagers. So there you have it. These are all the details about the show. And I really thought this was an interesting premise, and it was interesting to watch actors that I was, besides Laura Vandervoot, who was in the back half of Smallville as Clark Kent's cousin. I didn't recognize, and Mark Taylor, who was in 17 again. I didn't recognize any of these actors, so that was interesting.
Yeah, Alex Johnson is actually funny enough. So if like you guys remember, if anybody watched So Weird, you know that like Fee on So Weird eventually leaves, and there's another girl that comes to replace Fiona. Alex Johnson is the girl that plays replaces Fiona. So it was cool to see Alex Johnson again.
Yeah, I remember watching So Weird, but for the life of me, I couldn't remember Alex Johnson being on that show or even what her character's name was. So it was like I'd never seen her. Same thing.
Same thing. I love this show, even though I think there are a lot of parts of this that haven't aged well. I still love the show. So something that we talked about when we talked about Nashville and Gossip Girl is that there's this tendency with teen television or fiction or to punish young women who I think strive for successful or strive to be successful in an area in their life that has nothing to do with like boys. And I love Instant Star because the whole premise of the show is about a teen girl striving to be successful at this thing, her career, and it's taken relatively seriously, and that's why, like, that's the whole premise. So that's part of why I love Instant Star. And even though there are a lot of things about Instant Star that still don't work, I think there are enough elements that do work that I think this show is still super valuable to look at.
Hashtag justice for Jenny, always. But this is obviously a recurring theme. It's something that happens on television quite often. So let me get this out there. The show is problematic, and I will be bringing that up when I talk about Instant Star. But I do like it for the reasons that Alex just stated. All right, season 1. It's 13 episodes. We're being introduced to our cast. The very first episode is when Jude is announced as winner of Instant Star, which I appreciated. I didn't really need to see the whole build-up, like me jumping into the tail end of the competition. Just announce her as winner and let me see the aftermath, which I thought was really cool and probably the better idea too, insofar as the show's budget is concerned. We learned really quickly that the show doesn't have that great of a budget, but it really does wonders with the budget that it does have.
Something that I think that this show does really well is that, like you said, there's no budget, but what it lacks in budget, it makes up for in writing, and it writes in a really efficient and specific way, which is a credit to the show.
So Jude wins Instant Star, and she is paired with Tommy Q, who is a former boy band member, as like a songwriter / producer type. Now, Jude is 15 years old and Tommy is 22 when these characters are introduced, which wouldn't be problematic, except very quickly the show pushes Jude and Tom as love interests for one another. The most problematic aspect of the show, is presented to us from jump.
Right.
She also has her best friend, Jamie, who's like slightly less problematic, but problematic still in the first couple of seasons because he is in love with Jude and he sees their friendship as basically a way station, a rest area for the quote unquote next level, and believes that she will fall in love with him too one day and comports himself accordingly. He basically friend-zoned himself. He's really trying to be more than friends, but is just basically, quote-unquote, biding his time until he can be something more than that, which is also problematic. And then we have her, at the time, best friend, and who we see only in season 1, Kat. The show basically tells us that she's jealous of Jude's success and uses that as a reason to basically write the character off the show. Problematic number 3. So these are my 3 issues with season 1.
The Jamie character is a great character, like on its face. I like Jamie. I like that Jamie roots for Jude. I like that he's super supportive. He always gives her that support despite whatever. Jamie isn't jealous of her success. He's always operating from this vantage point of, and he verbalizes it, of like, one day she will love me. That's the biggest problem with Jamie. I actually wouldn't hate if through the course of season 1, her and Jamie developed like a natural, like, romantic love for each other, and then that was like the culminate, and then she just sort of realized or figured that out at the end of the first season. In fact, I think I would have preferred that due to I think the choices that the show ends up making later.
Right.
Kat is, I don't know. I feel bad for Kat. Kat sucks. Kat's like your typical sort of just black girl on a teen show that they're here to like villainize. You're a black girl on a white teen show, so your purpose is to like be jealous or be a villain. But they give Kat this interest of like being being into fashion, but they never do anything with it. They forget it. And it's just a bad choice from jump. They should have made Kat, in my opinion, the better choice would have been to make Kat also a singer, but let Kat be into like R&B music. Because one of the big things that you talk about, Emma, is like, you know, the soundtrack is like Jude is she's like a pop rock girl. She's like Avril Lavigne, Sky Sweetenham. It's very early 2000s, and which is fine because like that sound had a huge moment in the early 2000s. R&B also had like a really huge moment in the early 2000s. The sort of pop R&B market. There's no reason why Kat couldn't have been a singer as well, but instead of being into pop rock, her sound would be R&B, like pop R&B.
Right. And this would have worked because Barbara Mamabolo, who plays Kat, is actually a singer. So and you know, she's singing live, and she's singing with a band like right now. So there was no reason to not do that. As far as her interest in fashion, I don't even know if that they forgot her interest in fashion. The show itself was just not interested in it because like almost every other episode, season 1, the only season we saw Kat, she would talk about her fashion and she'll talk about her upcoming fashion show. But the show itself truly didn't give a fuck. Like there's an episode where Jamie ditches her fashion show to be there for Jude. And instead of showing us that she's at her fashion show, they show Kat waiting outside for Jamie to come back. So
Right.
They cared more about this prospective romance between her and Jamie than they actually cared about her, which is honestly worse than her forgetting her own interests, is that the show doesn't care about her interests. The Jamie character was fine. I thought that he was a less offensive version of the Xander Harris character. He was the Xander to Jude's Buffy. You know, Xander was always super supportive of her as a Slayer, but he was also like kind of biding his time and waiting in the wings type of situation. I didn't think that Kat and Jamie made sense. I really think that the writers wrote in that relationship so that to like basically be like the impetus of Jude and Kat's relationship fracturing. It made more sense, like you said, if they had mutually come together and started dating at the end of season 1, which kind of sort of happens, or if they got together by the end of the series. I would have liked to see that. And if Shay Mills had been her season 1 and season 2 boyfriend.
Right, yeah, exactly. So let's talk about but there and like we're gonna talk about Shay like in 2 seconds, but before we do, things in season 1 that like I like, that I think the show does well, that I think is really compelling, besides the fact that like Tommy is like a creeper, I do like this sort of vision of like the relationship between like the producer and like the artist. I think that's interesting. I like that something else I like the show. I like that they let Jude fail, and that Jude has and I like that Jude has a natural inclination to music, but she's not that great at it yet. Something that I think a bunch of teen shows, particularly like teen shows that star white girls, do, and that they've been doing in the past couple of years, is that like there's this sort of like they're instantly amazing at everything the first time they try. That's not the case with Jude. You know, Jude plays that song, what will eventually be 24 hours, and Tommy tells her that she sucks. Like, he's like, it's not good yet. Like, you got to work at it, but it'll get there. But like, there's something here, but it's not where you want it to be. And I really like that part. I like that they just show Jude doing the work, right? That is such a, and Jude doing the work, Jude working towards it, Jude sort of really working at writing these songs and like getting these songs right and recording them will be such a huge aspect of the show. I like Sadie. Sadie's great. Sadie is Jude's older sister, and we'll talk about her. Yeah.
Yeah, I like what you mentioned about Jude having to work at it. The show also tells us, various episodes, that Jude's been into music from a very young age, before Instant Star was ever a competition. And there's an episode where they show you her dad taking her to the music store on her birthday to get her first guitar when she was like 9 or 10. So she's been playing her instrument for many, many years as well. It's not like she picked up her first guitar when she was 15 years old and started making beautiful music.
I also like the show shows how Jude's stardom and her sort of going on this journey like takes in her really being an artist and this thing sort of being for real, particularly at such a young age, is a strain on Sadie, but it's also a strain on like her parents' marriage.
I'm not gonna use Jude's success as a reason for her dad being a cheating ass cheater, but we do see a lot of that strain where her mom is concerned, right? Season 1, some of the major plot points. There's this Tommy issue. Gross. So again, Jude is 15 and Tommy's 22 when they meet. So every season, Jude has a birthday, which was kind of jarring for me because the seasons are only like 13 episodes long. And when you watch him in, the whole series in sequential order, it feels like this girl has a birthday every other week. I guess the episodes were stretched out a bit more when they aired, but because I watched it the way that I did, it felt like they were like rapidly trying to advance her aging to make this Tommy Q thing less gross than what it was, especially since absolutely no one else's birthday was celebrated on the show ever. Not Tommy, not Sadie, not Jamie, just Jude's birthdays. So, yeah, that was interesting. Unfortunately, the Tommy Q dynamic and their will they, won't they, and the romance between them is like an undercurrent in every single episode and every single season. It's kind of exhausting. In season 1, Sadie and Tommy actually start dating, which was really gross. It kind of was reminiscent of what Deacon did with Juliet in season 1 of Nashville, like dating her because he couldn't be with Raina. Like, he couldn't be with Jude because Jude's underage. So he settled for her sister, Sadie, who's 18 years old at the series open. It was just very, very gross. We already knew that Sadie was headed for a heartbreak, and I didn't like it.
Right, which sucked. Jude does get like an age-appropriate boyfriend in Shay. Shay is Darius, aka Canadian Diddy. That's essentially who he is. Shay is a Canadian Diddy's nephew, who is like extremely famous rapper, and this is in how they write Shay, and actually how they establish Shay being famous is what I mean when I say the show does like a really good job writing, making up for the budget, and it's in very small ways, because like when we meet Shay, everybody quotes his like song back to him, which I feel is like a really legit thing. Even Kat quotes, she doesn't quote it to him, but she quotes it to Jude before we even see Shay, which when you think about it, that is a real thing. Like I'm sure there are people who are like, go, like if they see 50 Cent, they're like, go shawty, it's your birthday. Like, so I actually really liked that, because like, oh yeah, that's real. That feels super real, and that feels really smart. And I like that. But Shay is age appropriate, and he's extremely famous, and Jude sort of like, busts his balls a bit, and he's into it because she doesn't necessarily care that he's as famous as he is. In fact, Shay serenades her at like this nightclub or whatever. It's awkward to watch Tommy, who is a grown man, like be jealous over like Jude's super age appropriate boyfriend.
Oh, yes. Can we talk about it? Like the way Tommy talks to, well, he can't talk directly to Shay that way because again, Shay is Darius's nephew. But we see the jealousy and then we see it in full force when he talks to Jamie. It's very like treating Jamie like a competitor. Like he knows Jamie's into Jude and he knows his ass is too grown to be with Jude. But like the way he talks to Jamie is especially in seasons 1 and 2 is like someone talking to a rival. It's disgusting.
It does not hit. And like, I mean, I guess like at the time it hit, but now watching it back, you're just like, ugh, make this stop. This is horrible.
I don't know if it hit at the time because I remember at this around like a year after this show aired, Vampire Diaries aired, and I thought that like Stefan and Elena's relationship was super weird. I don't know what y'all doing in Canada, but it's not okay.
Oh no, like I mean, I remember this Tommy Jude relationship was like extremely popular. Like I remember I was like on the fan boards and stuff. Like people bought it. It's sort of like in this looking back at it that you're like, and I think now that like we're smarter and trying to be more responsible about these things that I'm looking at it and I'm like, ugh, this is a no. And it's lame because Tommy's not exactly wrong. Shay is sort of like trying to pull one over on Jude, which we see in like full force later. It's not even bad that like Tommy tries to like warn Jude, like, hey, like you like Shay, but that could really end up being a mess for you. But because it's like in the text of like a romantic rival, it's gross rather than like a brother or like a just like a friend figure, like an older brother figure.
Like the show tries to portray Tommy's feelings for Jude as something that he is wrestling with because he knows it's wrong. And that doesn't make it any better because if you truly thought it was wrong, you would get her a new producer.
Yeah, like, and I guess that's what's awkward about it, rewatching the show now, is that like clearly somebody understood that like this premise was fucked up, but like nobody made the necessary moves to change it. Like, or to change the cohesion of it. Like, and there were a lot of options there to change it, which is unfortunate. Let's talk a bit about Jude's dad and this side hoe. That is so...
Ooh. Yo, my man starts cheating on his wife with the travel agent, you guys. Like 10 points for originality, I guess. But when he's caught cheating by Sadie, like he sees her flirting, she denies it. Then she sees like this love note that this girl wrote in the pages of a travel magazine for him. He also denies it, saying that it's a joke. Then she sees this woman touching him right before a debate team, what do they call it? Well, I guess a debate. And she's on the school debate team. She sees him flirting and touching right before them. But basically, Stuart Harrison was lying his fucking ass off.
Because it's in my notes, I'm like, this side hoe is bold. I'm like...
she's bold.
I'm like, my note is like, she really did show up to Sadie's job to plead her case. Like, what? Like,
right,
what?
Right. It's super bold. It's super gross. And Sadie, to her credit, she's a good sister, honestly. Like, I have a lot of love for Sadie. She knows all of this is going on. She knows Jude is under a lot of pressure. So she originally intended to tell Jude, but then changed her mind. And Stuart's just as bold as Yvette, the side hoe, because when the girls are out of town, he brings this woman to their house. Like, does she not have her own house? Why would you bring your side piece to your house where your children live just because your wife's out of town for the weekend? Jude catches him.
Jude's dad needed to take his hoe to a hotel. That's why they call it a hotel, where you can conduct hoe behavior. So, listen, for our audience.
It's Canada. Season 1, I think, tests a lot of people. It definitely tests Sadie. It tests Tommy. It tests Kat. Kat essentially bows out. Sadie passes the test, and Tommy fails tremendously. The only really great character we meet in season 1 is Quest, whom I love.
Yes. So we meet Quest, who is Quest is an engineer, a budding producer, and Tommy's sort of BFF, and he is so pure. All Quest wants to do is, be really nice and be really sweet and love somebody the way they deserve to be loved, do his job, and then go home.
Yeah, Quest doesn't have ulterior motives. It's amazing.
Sadie starts dating Tommy. It doesn't work out. And after it doesn't work out with Tommy, she starts dating Quest, who is like super sweet. And she does it, like, I think, to try to get a rise out of Tommy, but Tommy doesn't really care because he's hung up on her little sister, which, like, should be enough for her to just, like, be done. And then she sort of realizes that she does like this guy for who he is, which she should have, because he's really nice and he's really good to her. Jude and Shay break up, but season 1 ends with Shay comes back and Shay is like missing her, and he's like, hey, I'm doing this huge European tour. Shay is like, I miss you, come on the tour, be my opening act. And even then, I don't even think he says, like, let's work it out. He's just like, as a makeup for everything, come be the opening act on my tour. Which is a huge deal. And she turns it down.
Right. And this kid is like a major headliner. Like the way they frame his career is that like it was a combination of like Little Bow Wow and Usher in their peak.
Yeah.
And you want that when you're a new artist. You want to open for a major headliner with a long reach and a big tour. But Shay doesn't even involve any strings in it. He's like, listen, I know I did you wrong, and you're a talented artist. You deserve to go on a bigger tour, because that little club tour that they've got you on, that's not going to do shit for you. At the same time, Jamie comes into the picture, finally declares his feelings, which I thought was nice, keeping them to himself and like basically pining, behind the scenes was not working for me. And things are bad with Tommy, and every time things are bad with Tommy, she runs to somebody else. So they kiss, her and Jamie, and she decides not to go on Shay's tour, which is what we realize when she comes home in season 2. She didn't go on Shay's tour, which was stupid. Probably the dumbest decision she ever made for the entire run of the show.
Yeah, Sadie goes to Europe, which the Shay tour, both Jamie and Tommy like sabotage her with that, by the way. Both of them are like, girl, don't go. It's like,
they do.
Shut up. And this is why you ultimately can't get behind either Jamie or Tommy, which the show will try to get you behind. I think the show tries to get you behind Jamie at the last minute, but they don't build it properly.
So what do we think of season 1? Good, bad, or basic?
Season 1 that's a very good question. In the pro column, season 1 will essentially set up everything that needs to be set up to take us through the next 4 seasons, which listen, not everybody can do that. So in that pro, but like it's a con in that the big problems in season 1 will never get fixed. They will also follow us throughout all 4 seasons. So I don't know where to come down on it. But I want to put it like on the higher end. I think I want to put it on the higher end of basic.
Yeah, it's this season 1 is really hard for me because, like you said, the problems in season 1 continue for the duration of the series, except for Kat, who we never see again. It's sad. It's really sad.
It's really sad.
There were a lot of opportunities to bring Kat back into the fold in later seasons, and it just doesn't happen.
Which we'll talk about.
And their relationship is essentially fractured because Kat is jealous, which is ridiculous. It's ridiculous. I'm not even mad at the Tommy Q character. I think having like this former boy band member be working as a songwriter producer is actually a good, like, realistic arc of a character, of a person in the music industry. But the Tom and Jude romance is absolute garbage. And that's the reason why I have to give season 1 a basic.
Same. Yeah, I feel that. I actually really like the Tommy character. I like his entire arc. The the one thing about the Tommy character that does not work is this like Tommy Jude romance. That's the thing about the character that just doesn't work. He should have always been this sort of like friend, older big brother figure.
Right.
Had that been the idea from jump, that would have worked. And that truly would have fixed everything, because then you can still have, as we're about to discuss, you can still have Jamie be romantically, and you can still have Jamie and Jude be romantically linked. You can still have Jude and Speederman be romantically linked, which we're going to talk about eventually now in season 2. And you can still have Shay, right? You still have all these like boys rotating in and out of her life. All that still works if Tommy is just is like an older brother, big brother figure to her. In terms of Kat, I really wish, listen, I get it. Like they just hate Black girls so much. Yeah, Kat should have just been an R&B singer. And if they had Kat and they didn't like Kat, or like there were scheduling conflicts, I think the smart decision would have been to have Kat be an R&B singer, have her sort of coming up with Jude, right? Because maybe after Jude wins Instant Star, we see that Jamie gets to be at G major all the time, right? Like Jude is his in. And Jude could have been Kat's in as well, right? Except it would have been great to see Kat working with, and we could have had like Kat working with Quest, right? A lot. And her and Quest like working on all this like music and working really hard together. And then when Jude rejects the tour, Kat gets in there and is like, hey, it's me.
Right.
And then maybe Shay takes her on tour regardless. And then you could have written her out that way. And with Kat going on tour with Shay and then becoming like this international, contender and superstar, there's still an opportunity to bring her back if you needed her. Because I think later on in the series, this show does introduce characters and people that like weren't necessary.
Right. Just axing the character entirely just felt so disingenuous. Like, y'all didn't even care about that girl at all.
Right. And it's part of a larger trend and a larger problem and we've discussed this, of these white-centric shows just like axing these Black female characters, just really disposing of them. Season 2 picks up. We come back with Jude has been on this tour, this small club tour across Canada. They show the cities, and they're Canadian cities, and I know that because they all look kind of French, and I don't really recognize them. And they call it a North American tour, so I'm assuming it's just Canada. And she's touring with the Speederman Mind Explosion, which is a band that Jamie manages and found on his own. So at least Jamie has skills. Jamie's helpful. And she gets home to, get ready to work on a new record.
He's doing shit, right? He's making shit happen. Like, he's a real A&R guy now. And we also meet back up with Sadie. So in episode 13 of season 1, when she broke up with Tommy, he actually went to her and begged her forgiveness and begged to go to Italy with her. But she tells us how he only spent a week with her in Italy and left her to backpack through Europe alone. Trash. Darius's sister / Tommy's ex-wife, Portia, is Tommy's like new supervisor. And she and Quest get real close, which also takes an ugly turn later on. We're going to talk about it in season 3. She clocks later on when Quest expresses interest in Sadie. And then in like episode 7, when they start dating, that Sadie might not be completely over Tommy.
At least initially, Portia seems like a real one because she's like, listen, like, you are, and because, Quest is like, I don't know, like, why she doesn't like me. Like, maybe it's me. Portia's like, no, Sadie is on some real dumb bitch juice shit. Like, you remember people's birthdays. You're sweet. You're kind. You're thoughtful. You are not the problem. She is the problem.
Right. And she doesn't even say like Sadie's a problem, because in her conversations with Sadie, she straight up tells Sadie, like, listen, Tommy Q is no one to be crying tears over. Like, Quest is a good guy. Get it the fuck together.
In another life, maybe Portia and Quest would have hooked up, but no.
Yeah. All I gotta say about Portia is when you see how they do her so dirty, like, it's Assassination Nation with her character.
In season 2, episode 8, we see a very familiar face, a face that we haven't seen in a long time. Mr. Aubrey Graham Drake shows up to hang out because he was on Degrassi, and Instant Star came on after Degrassi, so he's there to hang, and he does like this little, and he has a featured part. He's like a whole little part. He does like he is gross though. He does like this casting couch situation, which when I watched the episode, it's like, I bet you he still does this. This is like probably still a move.
Listen, I didn't want to say it, but girl, listen, I absolutely believe that what happened on this episode of Instant Star was not acting.
like if you told me that like a writer wrote that purposely and the writer just wrote it to be shady, like, that would give me everything and I would believe it.
Also see Stacey Farber, aka Ellie from Degrassi, as herself.
Yeah. They come in to give like Jude like an award. By this time, Jude and Speederman are dating proper. He's
right. And her and Jamie lasted like 2 weeks when she got home from tour.
Listen, Jude runs to Jamie when she's feeling like insecure, which is like, I mean, one of the better, I think, characterizations of the show. Like, shout out to the writers, I guess. Jude runs to Jamie whenever she needs like unconditional like love and support. That's what Jamie is there for Jude. Feeling like the ground is shifting beneath her, she runs to Jamie to make it all okay.
Speederman's like, before they start dating, he's just like your typical insecure asshole. But then like once they start dating, he gets like legitimate reasons for that insecurity in the form of Tommy. Like, before, he was just jealous of his fellow bandmates, which was ridiculous. But then like he saw like the shit between her and Tommy, and there's even an episode where like her and Tommy get locked in a room together on her 17th birthday, episode 9, and like Vince and Jamie are trying to get into the room, and they basically like, walk in on her sleeping on top of Tommy, which was really, really cringe. And like, he basically calls her out and he's like, do you really want to be with me? Like, is this what you want? And he has like the integrity to leave the relationship. I want to say one of my favorite episodes of season 2 was episode 1, where Darius wanted Jude to cover his favorite song, Stupid Girl by Garbage. One of my favorite songs. Like, that song got me through middle school, you guys. And Jude tries to be a little diva about it, but she learns very quickly that sometimes when you're in the music industry, you're going to have to make performances and appearances and sing shit that you don't necessarily want to keep your label happy, to get what you want.
Yeah, my specific note about that whole situation is, bitch, just sing the cover song.
Yes, it's not hard. The song is less than 4 minutes.
Also, she's just dumb. Like, she's being really silly about it. Like, because when you put it into perspective, she was allowed to co-write practically by herself her entire first record. That never happens. She was allowed to tour most of her own stuff on tour with doing no covers. That also like never happens. She's pulled a lot of diva shit before, and they've kind of accommodated her. This is the first time they're actually asking her to do something out of the norm. Girl, like, you better go sing that cover song and be happy.
Right.
I think that's what's like the worst about it, is that like she's been relatively like privileged as an artist to sort of have a lot of artistic freedom, really, to do what she wants. She's been allowed to dictate her own sound. That is virtually completely unheard of. And they haven't really altered her sound in a huge significant way to stuff that's not her liking. Sing the cover song, girl. What are you doing?
Right. They're not asking you to record this for your album. It's literally for an afternoon party.
On a yacht, like with free drinks. Girl, you better get on Canadian Diddy's yacht and sing that song.
This is something the show did that was like kind of brilliant, but also kind of annoying. They kind of put Darius in a lot of ways as like Jude's, like standing in Jude's way, like Jude's own personal villain. But at the same time, an adult or anyone who just knows anything about the music industry knows that nothing he's doing is outside of the norm. And he's actually, like you said, quite accommodating.
Several times in my notes, like all my notes are like, Darius gives really great advice. Jude needs to listen to Darius more. Like, that is consistent in my notes about all these seasons. Like, he's actually really smart.
Because, I mean, you call him Canadian Diddy as a joke, but, like, the real tea, if he was really Diddy, he would have dropped her ass so fast.
He would have. Somebody will send you your luggage.
Yeah, basically.
Something I want to talk about super quick. In season 2, Tommy and Jude are on, like, are on their bullshit like they always are. And to the point where Jude feels like she can't work with Tommy. So Quest, before it was just an engineer, becomes her producer. Quest produces Jude for a bit. And let me say something. Nobody appreciates Quest. Like, Quest is so good to people and nobody appreciates him. Jude ain't shit because, like, it was an upgrade of the highest upgrades. So
speak on it.
Season 2, episode 10, he doesn't talk down to her. Like, he's pushing her to be better. And not only that, he's
not trying to fuck her.
He's not trying to have sex with her. He's letting her co-produce her own record. Quest is like, hey, like, what mics do you want to, like, which mic do you want to record with? You can pick. And Jude is even like, I'm allowed to pick? Like, what? And I'm like, look at Quest out here helping old girl build her production skills. Letting her have a say.
We love to see it.
And what does this bitch do? She goes running straight back to Tommy. I hate it. I hated it so much.
And this is another thing that I hated, not just because Quest is all the things you just said, but the driving force behind her behaviors where Tommy is concerned is always the fact that Jude loves Tommy. I'm not going to minimize her feelings or whatever, but I will say that this could have been handled better if Jude had come into the picture having these feelings for Tommy, and then Tommy immediately shut it down. Jude's feelings for Tommy are encouraged, even when they're not dating, because he is jealous of potential suitors. He's possessive of her, and he allows her to believe that there is something between them. So, like, this infatuation is fueled by him, even if he's, quote unquote, not crossing the line. He's crossing the line.
Right. It's,
He could have shut it down and baby girl could have moved on with her life, really, if he was really about something.
Really, if he was about something. And to the show's credit, I think they address, at least to, like, Jude always spiraling out when Tommy is on, like, his fuckboy shit, which he is constantly. Like, the show does address it at the end of season 2. So let's talk really quickly about Jude's mom taking her money and then bouncing. On the episode, she thinks her mom took her money, but it was really Sadie running up her money, and then Sadie's like, I'll get a job and pay you back. Her mom just left. Yeah, she abandoned her kids for some dude who I guess didn't want to date a single mother, and she's like, listen, I don't really have to be with these kids. They almost grown. They're almost grown. Ugly. She basically just abandons her family, and this is where, after the mom leaves, Sadie
episode 11, Sadie comes clean and admits that she's the one who used up all of Jude's money and promises to pay her back. And she starts working as a receptionist for G Major Records in episode 12. So Sadie, had definite lapses in judgment and definitely just went on a shopping binge when things between her and Tommy were over for good. And basically abused Jude's trust, but she does work to gain it back. And I really like that Sadie has to do this sort of like penance, right? It's not something that's just swept under the rug that you just stole a bunch of money from your sister.
Right.
So I misspoke when we were reviewing season 1. Season 1 was not the last we saw of Kat. Kat and Jude actually had their friendship breakup, season 2, episode 5. And this is after Kat acts out and tries to kiss Jude. Well, not tried, kissed Jude's dad at a movie premiere to make Jude jealous and upset. And that's when she finally admits that she's jealous beyond all reason. And they break up, and we never see Kat again after season 2, episode 5.
The strange character assassinations and villainizations of Black girls will be a theme on this show.
Right.
To be real. Episode 5 is also when we learn like a bit more of the Tommy character. We find out that he only has like a 7th grade education, which is interesting.
Oh yeah, he got pissed drunk and he shows up at their house to talk to Sadie and say he's like, listen, sleep it off, and he's like rambling about how his past and stuff. And we get more glimpses into Tommy's past from season 2 onward. They actually develop him a bit more, but it doesn't strike the right chord, because I believe that they're just trying to endear him to us, and we've already crossed that bridge. Right.
So, you loved like the music in Nashville, and the way that you love the music in Nashville is the way that I love the music on this show. The songwriting is top tier. The sound is very nostalgic. It's very like early 2000s pop rock, but I love a lot of the songs on the show. And so in episode 12, we get we come to like the first of my, and I'll just probably just do this throughout the episode. We come to the first of one of my favorite songs in the series. And that is like White Lines. It's great. It's a great song. You should listen to it. It's on YouTube.
Oh yeah. All of these songs are, and you already know, we got them together for you, honey. I got them together in one spot for everybody. So there is going to be an Instant Star playlist, you guys. No fears.
No fears.
I loved a lot of the music on the show, actually. White Lines is one of my favorites as well. It's one that she wrote when she was on tour. And it's basically about the white lines in the road, as that she's seeing from the tour bus. She also wrote a song with Speederman called Anyone But You, which I really love. Darius was saying the song didn't hit, and I was like, why is Darius saying the song don't hit? Like, it sounds good. But I was watching the song on 1.5 speed, right? So, and it sounded amazing. So I replayed the whole episode on like the regular speed, and it sounded better on 1.5 speed. So that's a suggestion for everyone. Listen to Anyone But You on 1.5 speed. It's amazing.
That is the Anyone But You song is really, really great. It's like her and Speederman's song. But then unfortunately, on the same episode where we hear White Lines is the same episode that Speederman and Jude break up.
Yeah. And I think that the whole nobody but them liking Anyone But You was a foreshadow to the breakup, right? The fact that they were the only people that liked that song, I think was like a foreshadow. But Jude's sound is really great. Alex Johnson can actually fucking sing. Bonus. She can play an instrument. She writes the music on the show, or the songs that Jude sings on the show anyway. Her sound kind of sounds like a mashup of a Hope Partlow, a Leslie Roy, Avril Lavigne, Cheyenne, Sky Sweetnam, and even a little bit of Ashley Simpson. When I went into the show, I thought she was going to sound like maybe like an Aslan meets Mandy Moore. But this amalgamation of all these other really popular and very young, early 2000s pop rock girls was actually a really great sound. And I fuck with a lot of these artists that I just named. Like, I listen to all of them still. So knowing that the songs are actually well written and didn't sound like super corny was a huge relief for me going into the show.
Yeah, so one of the big things that I think Instant Star does really, really well is they got like an actress who can actually sing. Connie, I know, Connie. That's everybody. Tim Rosen can actually sing. Alex Johnson, who does the bulk of the singing, can actually sing. Alex Johnson is still a musician now. She doesn't, for the most part, from what I see, like she doesn't even really act anymore. She primarily is just like an indie artist. Shout out to UCTV. You did that. Like,
definitely.
So many people have failed. You succeeded. I'm so proud of y'all. On God.
Oh, and of course, I have to mention like my first like favorite song off the show was in season 1, the Waste My Time duo with Jude and Shay is a bop. Great song. And Shay actually has flow. Like, he's not one of those like rappers, you know, quote unquote rapper characters that you put on a show that has like no flow, no style, no swag.
Yeah.
Jude tells Tommy that White Lines is about him, ill, and they kiss again, ill. Mason, who is like another talent, goes on tour. Jude doesn't go with him. She's just like, you know, working on this album. Quest finally asks Sadie out after, you know, showing great interest in her from, you know, very early on, since like probably around season 1. We also meet this character, Patsy, in season 2 as well. Patsy's a great character that we meet from season 2 to season 3, and she is played by, now I don't know if her name is pronounced Zoe or Joie, but either Zoe or Joie Palmer plays Patsy Sewer. They compare her to Janis Joplin, which is true insofar as her vocals, but like her style is more like a Courtney Love. And she's a great artist as well.
You'll recognize her. She is in Lost Girl. She's in a bunch of like other Canadian TV joints. She's very, very familiar. Patsy is another one of Jamie's artists that he's found. And Patsy is actually like not that stable, which we'll come to talk about next season even more so. Patsy and Jamie start dating / hooking up. And it's the first time that Jamie like becomes like tolerable is when he is like hooking up with Patsy.
Yeah, they start dating in season 3. Another relationship that's weird because she's an adult and he's still a minor. But this show really don't care about that kind of thing.
Does not care.
The big tipping point at the end of season 2 is that
Tommy's supposed to be somewhere and he's not. And Jude spirals. Jude goes to meet up with Mason on tour, and
she gets drunk at a bar, or specifically this guy keeps buying her drinks and encouraging her to drink, and then she gets drunk and he takes pictures of her while she's drunk. So, which I thought was actually very realistic showcase of what happens to young girls and celebrities, right? When you lose control in public spaces, because there's always some parasite willing to exploit the situation.
Right. Subsequently, everything that happens. Season 2, episode 13 also marks my next favorite song, probably my favorite song throughout the run of the series, which is There's Us. Great song.
Yeah, that is a really good song.
It ended up being covered by your favorites.
Yeah, the Backstreet Boys covered it. Because I remember that being like a bonus track on one of their albums, and you're like, there's a song on here that the Backstreet Boys covered. I'm like, which one is it? And I'm like running through their discography in my head. I'm like, it's got to be the bonus track, right? Because like they didn't really do bonus tracks on the rest of their albums. But it's a really well written song. It's not my favorite from Instant Star. Like I have other favorites. I thought that would be my favorite when it first started playing because I'm a big fan of ballads. But I have like another favorite that shall be illuminated later.
I'm excited to find out.
Yeah. But it's a really great song, and season 2 ends, in this really precarious situation for Jude. But what were your thoughts on season 2? Good, bad, or basic?
You know, if we put aside this prevailing Tommy Jude drama that they insist on, I think it's good.
Yeah, I actually think it's good and better than season one. And the reason why I say it's better is because the bulk of her like romantic interests in season two were Speederman. She went on tour without Tommy, and then Tommy left town. Like pretty much anytime Jude is Tommy free is a good time for me. Like that's just the way that it is. So let's just go into season three. Season three also 13 episodes, and Jude is a guest on one of the episodes of the new season of Instant Star, and everything's going well, but then the pictures come back to haunt her.
Yes. So this is it.
When the blackmail comes in the form of the pictures, which thankfully were not nude photos, Darius is like, I'll handle it. Because Darius handles shit.
When the blackmail initially happens, the guy wants $10,000, and Sadie comes through with the facts of like, why are you paying $10,000? You're not even naked. Like, what's the point?
Listen, like, I'm glad somebody said it, because there's so many ways she could have spun that. She would have been like, listen, I took some sleeping pills because I had a long day, and this guy just snuck into my room and took these pictures of me sleeping. Drunk where? I wasn't drunk.
Right.
like, there's so many ways he could have spun this shit. Like, come on.
Yeah, it's like, your boobs aren't out. Like, you're not... Like, it's not like you're having sex with him. Like, please. Because I guess at this time, like, it was still... And the show will, like, sort of remark on this in this very episode, is, like, what's interesting about this story is it talks to this idea of, like, female artists really needing to be, like, pure in the public's eyes, whatever that means to be pure, because that's such a relative, like, even that within itself doesn't mean anything. Also in episode 1, we'll meet Karma, who is the newest Instant Star winner. Karma will run this sort of gag on Jude in that, like, when they're in the press conference together, Karma's like, I'm a virgin, unlike Jude. Or like, well, she doesn't say unlike Jude, but she says, I'm a virgin. And then she implies that Jude isn't.
Right. And she the delivery is flawless. Like, this is a masterclass in shade. Because first she opens with this glowing compliment and praise of Jude as an artist, and then just slides that in on the tail end. Flawless delivery. That's in episode 2. In so doing, and basically implying that Jude isn't sexually pure, #patriarchy, she ends up replacing Jude for a bar mitzvah gig. Which Jude didn't even want to do in the first place. So when she realized she's been replaced by Karma, she decides to act up. And that's a funny episode. That's a really funny episode. That's also the episode we learned where Karma's not a virgin because she's fucking Speederman.
Right. Jamie also, it's bad when Jamie's out here serving hard truths too. Because Jamie also tells Jude, like, her breaking down and not wanting to perform every time Tommy does some new fuckboy thing is not the wave. And,
he tells her to grow up.
Yeah, he tells her to grow up. He's like, what are you going to do? You're just going to always do this? And I was like, damn, that's real.
Listen, and he shouldn't have even been in a position to say that, right? Like, I feel like other people gave her like similar kernels, nuggets here and there, and she just in one ear and out the other. Darius was trying to keep it real with that girl, but she wasn't listening either.
Let's talk about Patsy. Yeah, gone too soon. In episode 4, Patsy goes to the big rock concert in the sky. And credit to the show, but also like, fuck this show. The show like really takes the time to mourn Patsy. The next 2 episodes will be consumed with everybody dealing with Patsy's death and grieving. And they take 2 whole episodes to address Patsy. It's like lame that like Patsy can get this like really thoughtful send-off, even though she wasn't really particularly a part of their lives for that long. But then like people like Kat and her mom are just sort of kicked to the wayside. That's frustrating.
It is.
But I guess I want to give credit to the show because I guess it's like these will be the sort of like after school specialty type episodes because Patsy was suffering from like a substance abuse issue.
Yeah, there was lots of drugs and a lot of alcohol in her life. And Patsy, throughout her run on the series, alluded to a very terrible childhood. And, before her death, also alluded to feelings of inadequacy. She talked about her brother, who was also a substance abuser, and how he was, quote, the real musician in the family. So Patsy had a lot of pain and a lot of demons. And, at this point, she and Jamie are together, and her and Jude are really close friends. She was actually crashing with Jude in the tail end of her downward spiral. And so they're both very, very affected by it. Darius wants to release her record in memoriam, but the packaging, some of the production, and just the media around it doesn't reflect Patsy as a person. And Jude's not with it. But, he also plans a benefit concert for homeless teens, which Patsy used to be, a homeless teenager. Everybody kind of grieves in their own way. There's this really cool sequence when they try to steal Patsy's ashes to do like a bonfire by the beach, and they can't get in, and no one gets the key cards, and eventually Vince manages to get the ashes. And at the end of the episode, we learn that Darius is the one who gave him the key card to get the ashes in the first place, basically pretending he doesn't know what's going on, but he gave Vince the key card, which I thought was like a really, really cool moment. Like, Darius is not a cold-hearted man. He's a businessman. There's a difference.
Jamie blames Jude for Patsy's death and his grief. Tommy, of all people, will end up having like a good perspective on Patsy, in that, like, because Jude then begins to blame herself, and then she sort of blames Jamie as well. And Tommy kind of says, like, it's no one's fault. Like, she was always going to do what she was going to do, and that's just the way it is. You can like try to help people with addiction and who struggle with addiction, but ultimately, like, they have to make the choice of whether they're going to get better or not, which is really hard.
Yeah, it's
so it's heavy.
It is heavy. It's crazy. So this episode in particular, episode 7, Jude and Tommy take a road trip to find recording locations. And it's so skeevy because, like, you can see him literally counting down the days till she turns 18, because she's going to turn 18 this season.
Yeah, Darius and Tommy essentially have an exchange about this. And Darius is like, to Tommy, like, don't have sex with Jude. She is only 17. Tommy responds, she's 18 in 1 week. Then I can do whatever I want to do. Ew.
I just throw up in my mouth. Yeah, so listen, we've probably like touched on things like grooming before, but if Jude and Tommy's relationship is good for anything, it's basically textbook grooming. Grooming doesn't necessarily imply that molestation is going on, but more like a psychological long play, like you're playing the long game, getting this person when they're young and in their formative years while they're still a minor, basically so you can have quote unquote first dibs once they become legal.
So they go on this road trip for like recording locations because they want to like do something fun with, I guess, her new record. And Tommy essentially like takes Jude to meet the equivalent of his mother, not his actual real mother, but like the emotional equivalent.
Yeah. His mother's still in the picture, but they don't have a good relationship. So he takes her to like the all girls boarding school where like the woman who helped him when he was released from juvie, where she works. She works at a girls boarding school, and she even gives him the key to the headmistress's bathroom, which he says has like amazing acoustics. But then they like bring in this Hunter character. Remember that shit?
My note is like, it's dumb.
So they kept alluding to this Angie character, right? And
yeah.
So they bring in her older brother, Hunter, who blames Tommy for what happened to his sister. Tommy also blames himself for what happened to Angie. It's a whole thing. And then what do we do to get Tommy off the hook? He, A, saves Jude's life from Hunter, and then B, we learn that Portia's the one who cut the brakes on Tommy's car, and which led to Angie's death. So nothing is really Tommy's fault. He's the knight in shining armor.
Shining armor. And like, and what's ugly about this plot is that like once again, like a black girl is like sacrificed, is like has her character assassinated and is once again sacrificed at the altar of like nothing for nothing.
I'm so upset. I'm literally so upset.
To make this guy to make this Tommy character redeemable, but like there's nothing redeemable about him. I feel like they keep doing it to try to like make the audience feel better about the fact that he's a creeper, but like no, like or to make anybody who has like sense who's watching this feel better, but like it's a hard no. It's a hard no.
Right. The fact that he didn't have anything to do with Angie's death. And I can't even say he had nothing to do with it because Portia did what she did in an attempt to hurt Tommy. She thought he would be driving the car because he divorced her for Angie, right? Just because Tommy is not guilty for this and he's not like a murderer doesn't mean that he's still not like a predator and a creeper. Like one doesn't cancel out the other.
And even worse about it is that like when they recount that story and Tommy talks about, he alludes to the fact that he only married Portia because he wanted like in with Darius, which is even uglier, which I mean, just when you think it's in storylines like that and like developments like that, where I'm just like nothing but contempt for black girls, like, because I don't understand, like, because like to even just add that layer of like Tommy only even got with Portia not because like he legitimately like liked her, loved her, or felt anything. Not that Tommy is some prize, but like clearly the show has decided that Tommy is a prize. This sort of romantic hero only got with this black girl because like, you know, he just like needed something from her brother. It's so freaking ugly.
I mean, when we first enter to the Tommy Portia situation, like in season 1, when we learn that she's his ex-wife, she did say, you know, like, we were kids, we were young, we were in love, we did whatever we had to do. But like, the more we learn about Tommy's character, especially his life post, you know, his boy band, it definitely alludes that, like, yeah, he was attracted to Portia, but marrying her was definitely a move to get close to Darius. And one remark that I had about the Tommy character and the way that, like, my perception of him and my opinion of him never improves, Tommy never has to make amends. Anything that Tommy felt guilty for, it turns out he was never guilty of it in the first place. Yay! He never has to be accountable, right?
Right. So we get to this 18th birthday party. My next favorite song from the series, Love to Burn.
That's my top favorite.
Oh, yeah? Okay, that's
Yeah, Love to Burn is my top favorite. And I'm just mad that all these great songs are about Tommy, but proceed.
So there's this 18th birthday party, and like the whole thing in this horrible 18th birthday party, Jude and Tommy are like, oh, we're going to tell people official, like, we're dating, which is like,
right.
So
right,
gross.
Because they were recording like just prior to this, and like her dad even demanded that she tell Sadie what was going on. Because Sadie's still in the dark here. Like, she knows Jude has a crush on Tommy, and there's like, you know, breadcrumbs being dropped, but like she legit doesn't know that they're together. And her dad's like, you gotta tell your sister.
Right. So she's like, we're gonna tell everybody, and then Jude changes her mind and she's like, no, let's keep it on the low. I don't want to tell people. And everything that we just talked about with the hunter and the stuff happens. And then in episode 9, Jude finally like comes clean with Sadie. By this time, Sadie, like, Quest is like really sweating Sadie. He's like really into her. Sadie is on some real stupid shit. That's my note.
Yeah.
And it's unfortunate. So then Tommy gets like crazy, like wasted, because he's Tommy and he's full of drama. And then just to amp up the drama just a bit more, Sadie like kisses Tommy while he's like drunk. And Jude sees, and it's a whole thing.
Yeah, and she ends up, I believe she ends up leaving her birthday party with Jamie after she walks in on that. But to her credit, Sadie, you know, says, you know, tells Jude, like, I kissed Tommy. Like, he did not initiate the kiss. and that she realized when she kissed him that she was over him, like she was basically just romanticizing this former relationship, and that she was in love with Quest, who breaks up with her when she does this. But in episode 12, she makes a grand gesture for Quest, and she gets her mind right.
She gets her mind right. And like, listen, Quest was right to break up with her. So right, because Quest didn't deserve any of this. He did not deserve a single ounce of this drama. This is not what he's about. Listen, I love Quest so much.
Listen, it's facts only. Like, he's like the only, like, legitimately, he's the only character on this show that has like true integrity.
We're gonna get even deeper into it in a minute. So when Jude runs away from her birthday party, she runs because Jamie has this whole come to Jesus with this new character, Pagan, in a storage locker, which I don't care about. But when Jude sort of like runs away from her 18th birthday party with Jamie, they run away together and hang out in her like little workspace that she has. And Jamie's in his suit because he was coming to her birthday party, and she's in her dress, and they play like this like slow music, and it's sort of like a montage of her and Jamie hanging out in this workspace, and they film them in slow motion, and the frame is like lit in like blue, and it's supposed to be like very intimate and romantic, and as the viewer, you're supposed to take that from it, very intimate, romantic, and secret, and like, they're running away together, but it doesn't hit.
Right. It doesn't at all, because we know what she's doing. She's falling into that old pattern. Tommy fucks up, or Tommy hurt me, so I have to go to Jamie for comfort. It's like you said, she goes to Jamie for unconditional love and support. In episode 13, they go to the school dance together, and Tommy is jealous of Jamie. Gross. And Vince basically like warns her, like for real, girl, please stop playing with Jamie's heart.
That Jamie gets a dry ass kiss.
Ugh.
And it's ugly. Jamie and the dry ass kiss, and then this run away with me sequence. It doesn't hit because of what you said, but also like I understand what the writers are trying to do. They're trying to build this like love triangle, but it's like way too little too late.
Right. And okay, let's talk about love triangles for a minute. It's only a love triangle if our heroine actually has romantic and sexual feelings for both parties. Let's talk about love triangles done right. TVD's love triangle of Elena, Stefan, and Damon. That's a love triangle done right. Jane the Virgin's triangle of Jane, Michael, and Raphael. These are love triangles done right. Like the guy that you reserve as like basically the equivalent of a safety school is not an appropriate love triangle.
Liza and Charles and Josh.
Yes, that's another great love triangle from Younger. This right here is not a love triangle.
And I point it out because it's a failing on the show. I feel like the show was trying to, I feel like this love triangle was something that the show was trying to build. Like, in that, because she does date Jamie, right, at the beginning of season 2. Here at the sort of tail end of season 3, it's sort of like a comeback around. Like I can see they are really trying to set this up, but like they failed. It doesn't work. I'm sorry.
Listen, I'm of the school of don't try, do. Because the first time she goes running to Jamie, at the end of season 1, when he declares his feelings for her, was the first time Tommy had fucked up. When you have this person going back to a partner or a prospective partner because the person they actually want to be with isn't acting right, that's not an appropriate love triangle. Now, if you have a person who is actually psychologically torn between two people that they want in equal measure, that is an appropriate love triangle.
Right. And they were trying to do the latter. They did the former. Really quick, season 3, episode 12, No Shoes, No Shirt. This is Karma's song. It's the ultimate sugar baby anthem. It's one of my favorites for the run of the series. It's a great song. You should listen to it. It's amazing.
It is a really good song. Great song, you guys. Karma's songs are kind of bops. I'm not gonna lie. She does that pop R&B thing, which is definitely gained traction in the early 2000s in a major way. So she look at her pioneering and shit. One of the highlights of season 3 is that in episode 13, Karma and Speed get fake married for publicity, and then they realize that shit was real. They got a real marriage license, and it's a real ordinator, so they're really married, and they decide to stay married, which it definitely gave me some like Nick and Jessica reality show vibes, and we'll get into that in season 4. But it's actually a cute sequence, and this kind of like get married first, get to know each other later usually ends in like triumph or tragedy, and for them it's a little bit of both. So that was really cool to watch.
Season 3 ends with a sort of like, so basically G Major is like in flux. The future of the label is unknown, and Jamie has made inroads with this pagan person who is supposed to be, I think, I don't know his rock equivalent, but he's supposed to be somebody very famous. But let's say he's like a Mick Jagger adjacent figure. Mm-hmm. And this pagan person has agreed to give Jamie like $1 million to start his own indie label with Jamie at the helm of A&R. And Jamie has like, romantically asked Jude to come with him, to be with him, be on his label, since nobody knows what's going to happen to G Major. It ends with Jude singing on the rooftop, another one of my favorites in the run of the series, Where Does It Hurt? Great song. That's how season 3 ends.
So what was season 3 for you? Good, bad, or basic?
Basic. All the Tommy drama. And then also, and it's basic because I can really see the big holes in the show. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Season 3 was basic for me too. And literally I'm basing this solely off the treatment of Portia. We had this Angie character who was alluded for 2 whole seasons to have committed suicide over Tommy's mistreatment of her. And it turns out the car crash that killed her was not intentional on her part, but that Portia had put it into motion. G Major suffers because Darius covered up for his sister's crimes. That entire storyline was re-fucking-diculous.
It was. I have that in my notes. The Hunter stuff is dumb.
So yeah, it's definitely right there in the middle of basic and just flat out bad. Let's jump into season 4. Also 13 episodes. This is our last season, and we jump into Karma and Vincent on their newlywed reality show that they got from MTV last season.
Right. We also in our opener is, because although it's dumb, like the whole thing is like, who did Jude choose, Tommy or Jamie? We already know it's Tommy. God, you don't know how much I wish it could have been Jamie, but no, it's Tommy, of course. But the opening song is another one of my favorites in the series, Ultraviolet.
Ultraviolet is a great song. I'd probably put that in my top 5 of the Instant Star songs. But yeah, top 2 are definitely Love to Burn and White Lines.
Ooh, another song that everybody should check out. The music of it is featured on Instant Star, like the track, but we don't hear the song. It's by Corey Lee. It's called Lover's Holiday. Ooh, it's chef's kiss. It's a really great track. Everyone should take a listen.
Yeah, and Corey Lee plays Karma, by the way.
Yes, Corey Lee plays Karma. So now we've had Jessica and Nick, or like references to Jessica and Nick on Instant Star in Nashville, and I'm like, Jessica and Nick were really like super prolific. Like that shit really like went around the world, I guess. We get to know more about Karma. So this is what bugs about the Karma character for me, is that like I like Karma, but like, where was all this energy with Kat? Like, this could have really been Kat's plot. I think that's why I feel the type of way.
Girl, you already know what it is. Is Karma black? No, she's not. That's the answer to your question.
I hate it. It's true, but I hate it. It's so upsetting.
It's amazing how as soon as you take out the melanin, they learn how to treat women right. But okay.
That's what I'm saying. And it's like, she's Asian. She looks like what? Filipino? Like it's
I'm
literally
not sure if
anything.
she's Filipino or Korean or what, but she's definitely Asian. She got like Asian parents. We meet them in episode 2 of season 4.
Or
So
it has to just not be a black girl, and suddenly people know how to act. I hate it. It bugs. Tommy and Jude are gonna have sex or something. Whatever. They're having this whole like conversation about like, so when Karma like implies that Jude is not a virgin, we do find out at the end of the episode that she is a virgin. Tommy's going to be Jude's first. Jude is like sort of having all this sort of like mental hangups because of all of Tommy's hoes. But I'm just like, girl, you knew what this was when you signed up.
Right.
But then I feel bad for saying that because she's been groomed. I hate all of it. I hate all of it. That's the point.
I mean, groomed or not groomed. Let's say she had met Tommy when she was 18. The facts still stand. He's 8 years older than you. Believe me, he's been with people besides you. Like, I think it was a bit naive of her, especially considering that he was in a boy band, to think that, like, you know, his body count was really, really low. Girl, bye. And her sister's included in the roster of people he slept with, which is extra cringe.
It's extra cringe.
But they have sex in episode 1. And
I hate it.
I hate it so fucking much. You don't understand, you guys. When I tell you, and I can't stress this enough, that the Vincent Karma storyline is what saves season 4 for me, I'm not kidding. I'm not kidding, you guys. It's the only thing that I could like get behind without wanting to vomit. We learned Karma's real name, or not real name, but first name, Jennifer. She had her name legally changed when she went on Instant Star. So Karma used to be Jennifer, and the show Rockstar Newlyweds pays for a marriage, like a real marriage ceremony, a televised ceremony for them, which is cool. Karma gets Sadie to be her maid of honor. Sadie catches the bouquet. There's lots of cool shit going on in season 4 surrounding the couple that just feels fun. Like it feels like what I feel like a lot of season 1 should have felt like, where you're just like falling into the celebrity lifestyle and like drinking up all the partying and all the fun, which we never really got to see Jude do, but we get to see Vince and Karma do.
Which would have been solved or could have been so much better if they had just kept Kat. Like, and they kept her as an R&B singer. Because the thing that I do like about this Karma Vincent story, talking about what you said, is that I really do like the fact that Karma has a sort of instinct to work the machine of the industry. Whereas, you know, Jude sort of just writes songs and goes home. Karma has an instinct and knows that there is like a bigger media game to be played. And I like that. I don't think the show takes that position. In fact, I do think the show sort of codes to you that Karma is dumb and Karma like is lesser than Jude because she cares about this sort of like fame game, but which is a failing on the show. But I like that she does. I think it's, as a viewer, or just as a specific individual audience viewer, that is actually a really interesting part to me. And I wish that the show would have taken that like a bit more seriously.
Right. It definitely portrays Karma as less than and frames her as some sort of opportunist for trying to garner publicity and media attention around her career, which is ridiculous. Yes, there are instances where Karma takes shit too far, but for the most part, what she's doing is what she should be doing as a rising artist, especially in this era, right? Early 2000s, you need those clicks, you need those views, you need those engagements, you need that viral video, you need that interview, you need that good cover or sample that's going to set you apart. And, you know, she really does try to play the game. And the show, I won't say they directly punish her for it, but they do these call outs via Jude, via Speederman, that like, you're doing too much, Karma. But she's not, though.
And they do it also via like Jude, Tommy, and Karma are going to be the judges on the new Instant Star, right?
Mm-hmm.
And they sort of, I guess, punish her by, Jude and Tommy sort of get this like huge, big reception, right, from the people at the press conference. And when Karma walks in, everybody's just like, ugh, Karma.
Yeah, they were trying to treat our girl like she was Paris Hilton or somebody, and I was not fucking with it. It's not okay. The more I think about Kat, the more upset I get, but also the more I realize how like disingenuous it was to even have her on the show in the first place. It was like they had this black girl character on the show just so people could say that they had a black girl. Same with Portia. And then they got rid of them in these nonsensical or character assassinating ways. Like, we had 2 black girls on the show. This is just what happened to the characters, which is arguably worse than not having had any black characters at all.
In episode 4, we get this person who will be revealed to be Pagan's daughter. And the person is Tatiana Maslany, the lead in Orphan Black.
I knew her face looked familiar. I had no clue who that was.
I had totally not remembered that she was on this show. So it is awesome. It was awesome to see her. Also, Manny Santos.
Right. Cassie Steele is on this, but not as herself like Aubrey and Stacey were. She plays a character called Blue, who was from Instant Star and is trying to come up as well. And Blue is also a character that they do kind of dirty for weighing her options, basically. She doesn't know if she wants to go with Jamie and Pagan's label, NBR, or G Major Records. And she's basically like shut out of both because she couldn't make up her mind fast enough.
So let's talk about Jamie for a minute. The Jamie and his new indie label thing. So episode 3 is essentially dedicated to Jude has officially chosen Tommy, and she lets Jamie know. And Jamie, in an unexpected show of maturity, tells Jude that, like, I respect your decision, but I am a person who is in love with you, and you were a person who made me think that you could be in love with me too, but you're not, and you didn't choose me, and because of that, I need space. I need for there to be some distance. What does Jude do? She just steamrolls over all of that.
Yeah, it's really selfish. Jamie has wanted her for so long, and regardless of how you feel about his feelings for Jude, like, they are real, they existed. She was made aware of them back in season 1. Like, this back and forth that she was doing with Jamie and Tommy was heartless. Like, if you need like a placeholder guy, get literally anyone else but your best friend. And like, when I say that, like, Jamie's her Xander, like, Jamie is not at Xander levels because Buffy didn't lead Xander on. You know, back in season 1 when Jamie and Kat were dating, Jude turned a very territorial corner. She was going out of her way to basically prove that she was going to be number 1 in Jamie's life regardless.
Also, what really differentiates them is, you know, Buffy let Xander know at every turn that it was Angel and nobody else. Jude did not do that. Jude was not like, right, it's time. She did give him that dry ass kiss, right? Right? Jude gives Jamie the dry ass kiss. Jude does, you know, say the words. In season 2, she does say the words like, you are my boyfriend. She does lead him on in a way that's up. And he is not crazy for feeling like there is or could have been something really real between them. And she needs to let him go. And the show punctuates that point in the most dramatic way possible.
That episode was so fun. I'm not even gonna lie. Like, I was like, this is some really great writing. Like, she still don't deserve to like be integrated in his life again so quickly, but that's great writing.
Jude invites Jamie to this party, and because she wants everything to go back to the way it was. She wants everything to quote unquote be normal again. Basically, there's a whole hijinks with the roof, and Jamie ends up on the roof of her house, and Jamie slips, is sort of hanging over the edge, and Jude grabs his hand. Jamie looks behind him and can see that there are people at the bottom who are going to catch him, and Jamie looks at her and he's like, you have to let me go. And she goes, no, I can't. I just can't. And he goes, seriously, Jude, let me go. And then she goes, no, I don't want to give up. Like, I can't. And Jamie's like, you need to let me go. And then she does, literal and metaphorical.
He's going to be just fine without Jude. There was another scene that I loved in episode 3. So they go public and or episode 4, excuse me, and she's on like a talk show. And she starts jumping on the couch, was obviously a throwback to the Tom Cruise jumping on Oprah's couch when he was dating Katie Holmes, right?
Right. Which is funny.
I'm like, this shit is hilarious. But it was like, they really pulled some of their more clever episodes here in season 4. So let's talk briefly about the friend turned stalker, Megan.
I liked it in the sense that, like, it felt clever because it felt like it was a callback to, like, Stan, like the Eminem song. Mm-hmm. It felt like an offshoot of that. And it also, and I liked it, and I guess it was good because it contextualized how famous Jude was getting, to even, like, get to now have, like, stalkers and stalkers locking you up in basements and stuff and all this craziness. And I liked that it felt like it was a comment on how entitled fans can be. But as a whole, like, I don't know that I was about it.
I liked this plot for all the reasons that you just stated. I thought it was a really great addition to the show because some of these other subplots, like the Hunter character, the Portia character, were truly and honestly just there to bolster the Tommy character, which I didn't like. But I thought this was super well done. And the forcing Jude to write a song was, for me, a very obvious shout out to the movie Misery, where when Kathy Bates keeps Paul's character hostage, she forces him to write a novel for her. And she even composes the same way at first, like a friend, like a caring person, which I thought was really, really, really cool. And the song 2 a.m., I'm not gonna lie, I thought trying to release the song was super gross, but the song itself, definitely in my top 5.
Same.
Listen,
you know why I didn't like this Megan plot is because, or the stalker plot is because she comes in way earlier. Like, right? It's not like one day she just comes and she kidnaps her, or we see that this person has been stalking her from afar, and she kidnaps her. And listen, and I know what I'm about to say is probably me beating a dead horse. I don't care. So Megan comes in at this place where Jude, like, really needs a friend, right? Because Jamie's gone. Tommy and her continue to be a lot of drama previously due to, like, his mother has Alzheimer's, and he has, like, a really horrible family life, and that happens. But Jude, like, just really needs a friend. And I guess I was just, like, annoyed that I have to, like, deal with this whole new person instead of just Jude relying on these friends that she's already made. Because, like, whatever happened to Mason, right?
Right. What happened to Mason? And, like, Speederman is literally right there.
Right there.
And in all the ways that matter, he is her best friend. We didn't really need a new friend character. But, I absolutely agree with that. I can get behind that. Like, just introducing new characters for the sake of introducing new characters was probably stupid. And I think that's why making her a stalker was probably a better use for her. I'm going to be honest.
Something I want to say really quickly. Quest moves into the Harrison household, and Quest polishes Sadie's shoes. He takes out the trash. He cooks. He goes to work and does his job, and then he rubs Sadie's feet because she's been in heels all day at his job while he could be on his lunch break, and this bitch still is, like, on some dumb shit. When I tell you, had that been me, all the lyrics to Cater to You would be in my Twitter bio. Like,
right.
You would have me saying some dumb shit. Like,
I would be quoting, like, all the hoteps, like, be his rib, sis, be his helpmate, build your man, nation build. Because on top of this, she's getting her back blown out every night, and he looks great in a towel. Listen, listen. I'd be out here like you must honor your man. You have to lift up our kings every single day.
I would have been out here like, I just believe in, I just believe in making my man his plate. Like, I'm really traditional.
Right. Like, you know what? Like, I'll be like, you know what? Fuck feminism. What we need is to build as a people. If your man cooks you breakfast, cook him dinner. If he rubs your feet, rub his back. It's about reciprocity. You don't know how fast I would have quit my job and had him a couple babies. You don't even
know. Pushed them out, but like, let's go. Let's do this.
But no, and this is another thing that they do that I don't like. Basically, they frame it that Quest is too accommodating. It's annoying to Sadie, and then they try to like imply this really gross Darius and Sadie attraction. What the fuck is happening right now? She was pretty much like Dawson's mom in this situation, right? You had your good man right there at home, looking good, doing everything he should, but you cheat for what?
Oh, what? What did that get you? Did you get the clicks? Did you get the like? Did you get the divorce settlement? Like what, bitch? What?
And she wasn't even trying to social climb at G major, right? So like, what was even the reason of this whole Darius counterplot? Like,
right? Like, I mean, I know like earlier Sadie is essentially, because I mean, I do empathize with her in that way, because before Liam sort of takes off to wherever he goes, Liam, who is introduced as like an executive at G major in like season 2-ish, she does bring it up to Liam like, hey, I work the front desk. I do your PR. I do all this stuff. You need to fork up the cash and pay me. And she just tried to make that case for herself, and that she's like, listen, like, get like a real person to come in here and do like the admin work and pull me up to my proper title, which is PR, which I've already been doing. That's fair. And I feel that for her. But other than that, like, I'm just like, yeah, like she's not been shown as like the social climber person, so it doesn't really make any sense.
Right. And they break up in the ugliest way. They're at some spa weekend and they're doing like a couples exercise, and all their shit gets put on blast on Front Street.
Right. But you know what? Quest didn't deserve.
Yeah, they did Quest dirty. Quest didn't deserve that. Just a lot of things. We never saw Shay again, which was sad because I thought that he should have been a recurring character. He's an artist. We didn't even get to see Eden again, like her rival and the Instant Star runner-up back when Jude was competing. Which, I mean, if you're trying to throw in a villain, you could recycle that villain very easily instead of villainizing our other people.
It's weird. It's not weird. I guess it's just what it is. But like, I clocked that it's weird that they're happy to have the women of color antagonize Jude, but like they drop the white girl antagonist very quickly.
Right. And Jude was like Eden was a real adversary for Jude, because when we come into season 1, even though Jude wins Instant Star, it's Eden's upcoming album that's getting all this press. So there's a lot of like feelings there. And then she learns that Shay was cheating on her with Eden. Eden doesn't harbor any good feelings for Jude. In season 1, they get into a fight at Darius's pool party. And, even the villainizing Karma, which was appropriate back when it was happening in season 3. When I think about characters, for instance, like Hunter, or like Megan, did their storylines make sense? Yes. But especially in the case of Hunter, what purpose did it serve except to bring Tommy and Jude closer together? That's what this is really about. That's why I keep throwing new people at us. But Quest confronts Darius and quits. In episode 13, Tommy proposes to Jude, and then Jude learns very quickly that he's done with the rock star lifestyle. He wants a normal life, but her career's just getting started. And she does the smartest thing that she's done this entire fucking show.
The whole series.
Our girl goes to London without Tommy.
Yeah, she tells him that she's not marrying him and that she's going to go to London and she's going to be famous. And And listen, like, so this would have been part of what could have made this show really satisfying for me personally would have been have Kat, like I said in the beginning, take that R&B, let Kat be an R&B girl, let her go on tour with Shay and become crazy famous, and then she never comes back. Because the big like London label comes and they're courting her and they're like, we want you to come, da 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 da. It would have been so awesome for Kat to like show up in all of her R&B pop star, world famous recording artist glory and be like, and like turn her glasses down at Jude and be like, hey stranger, what are you doing? Come on and like, let's get on the road. Like that could have been like a really satisfying ending. You know, Jude being so excited to like see her friend that she hasn't seen in like a really long time. And then realizing like her and her friend are going to like get out here and like fucking take over the world. Like that would have been so great, so satisfying. Her leaving Tommy in the dust, and instead, like, I don't know, they don't do that because I don't know, whatever. I don't care.
Yeah, I totally agree with that. That would have been a great way to do it, especially if you did not want her on the show as a long-term supporting character. She could have been in a recurring role at the end of season 1, right?
Right.
Hell, you could even turn that fashion thing into something. She was a fashion designer. She's designing for somebody. They heard her sing. Next thing you know, Kat's out here getting signed. There's so many ways that you can turn that because we do have a lot of artists who also dabble in design. So that's not like a stretch of the imagination. And when we say you need to treat Black girls better, that doesn't necessarily mean that she has to be part of the principal cast. But the way that Kat's character arc was handled was completely atrocious.
That's my personal read, right? Is like, I would have, okay, so because I get it. You have these 3 best friends and maybe you understand what you want to do with the 2, but you can't really figure out 3. That's a way to get her out. And then once you're sort of culminating in this big sort of thing and you make the decision for Jude to choose herself, how awesome is it to then reinforce this idea of like female friendship and sisterhood by like having, you know, her sort of glamorous best friend come back for her, like to be like, it's you and me.
That would be great. And I mean, because Jude is who she is and her involvement with Tommy, it would have made sense if Kat comes back into the picture and her glitz and glamour and be like, listen, you always said you wanted to be famous. That's what it means. Like, Tommy will always be here. Let's get it popping. Let's hit the road. That would have been like a perfect ending for Jude and closure on the Kat character. But y'all didn't want to you didn't want homegirl to be happy. It's okay. It's okay. Fine. But that's fine. What it was. You just didn't want her to be happy.
Other stuff, Tommy's a whole redneck from wherever the rednecks come from in Canada.
So he's like the white trash of Montreal, like the French Canadian region. So basically like the Canadian equivalent of like a Cajun redneck.
He goes back to like deal with his mom, who's like his siblings aren't like, you know, helping. And he goes back to deal with his mom, who needs professional care, by the way. Like, she's just at a point where she needs professional care. It's at a situation where like them trying to take care of her is like probably not in her best interest. And funny enough, it's actually like the first time that like, I don't think the show means it to be, but as a viewer, I'm just like, wow, like, Jude, you are really not equipped to like deal with this man and his family and like this life. Jude comes, but Jude can't do anything except be like, I need you to write a song. Had she brought Sadie would straighten all that shit out. Like,
right. You know, to Tommy's credit, Tommy didn't bring Jude. She invited herself. Sadie really would have like got everything together, but you know, this was supposed to be like, you know, her getting to know Tommy, the real Tommy, the man behind the mask. It doesn't make us want her and Tommy to be together any more than we did before. Like, just no, stop it. And, you know, they could have left us with this ending. My girl goes to London and lives happily ever after, but they had to throw in this damn mini. We're not going to talk about that. Don't watch any of the Instant Star minis.
Yeah. Listen, I'm a big believer that, like, if it didn't air on the show, it doesn't exist. It doesn't matter. Like,
don't watch the minis, you guys. Don't watch any of the minis.
Don't watch any of them. They don't matter. I don't care. As far as I'm concerned, Jude did the right thing, chose herself, and that's how this show ended. So season 4 was fine. I think I'm actually going to put season 4 on the side of good.
Season 4 is still a basic for me, just on account of the way that they tried to rip apart the Sadie Quest relationship. But on the high side of basic, because Karma and Speed was chef's kiss. Really, really great depiction, really great writing, really fun episodes. Like low-key, I kind of wanted them to be our new protagonists. I'm not even gonna lie. I was tired of Jude and Tommy's drama. I'm so tired of it.
For the series as a whole, I think there's a lot of good in this series. I think there are a lot of elements in this series that really work, that are really good. There are a lot of things that I like. I like the chief among them being that, like, I like that they dig into the music business part of it. I like that they dig into the songwriting part of it. We didn't really talk about this, but, like, you know, Jude, you know, because of everything that happens with Tommy and his mom, Jude ends up producing her record herself, and she fails. And the record's a flop. And I like that. I like that she fails. I like that she has to work. I like the relationship between her and Sadie. There are lots of good elements in this series. It's just that the things that were bad were, like, really, really, really bad.
And we couldn't get away from them. They were in every season.
Yeah, and we couldn't get away with them. They were the things that were bad were really bad, and they were baked into the foundation of this show. That's right. What killed it. Especially the songs in Instant Star, and how the songs are integrated within this show, this series, is an element that really, really works. Getting an actress who can actually really sing, I don't think Instant Star works as well as it does if you got, like, a Connie Britton or even a Hayden Panettiere. Even though Hayden Panettiere, I think, did, like, a good job, I think you really have to go to the mat and really work to find an actress who can actually sing.
Mm-hmm. The premise of Instant Star, because this Tommy-Jude relationship is integrated in the foundation, and it is, you know, portrayed as early as season 1 as endgame, is deeply problematic. So for me, Instant Star was, like, it had moments of greatness. Vince and Karma and Jamie doing A&R and running his own record label were great. The rest of it was super basic. The music is what really keeps the show from being bad for me. I don't know what the laws are in Canada, but none of this shit is okay. These teenagers dating grown folks, why? Why did it have to happen? Shay was right there. Jamie was right there. Vince was right there. There's a bunch of other teenage boys doing pop. They could have got her a little, I don't know, fucking Jesse McCartney type, if that's what she needed.
I think if you're a writer, this is worth a revisit, because like I said, I think there are a lot of elements that really, really work in terms of thinking about if you were like working on a premise like this and you were trying to craft something similar. There are a lot of elements that the show does that works, and that's just, like, from a structural standpoint in terms of how they set up the episodes and where the songs come in. Because usually you have the songs. Because I also really love that the songs correlate very specifically with whatever the theme of the episode is, which is something that I think got lost in Nashville. Nashville sort of felt like they were just like, we got to have these songs because these people are artists. Whereas Instant Star, I think, does do a really good job of, like, each song is connected thematically to whatever is going on within the episode, and it never loses sight of that. I think the structure of this show is really good. It's the story that has the most problems.
An 18-year-old and a 23-year-old who are soulmates, and they're waiting on each other is a trash ass. Like I said, the music is very good, and it's so good that it keeps the show from being bad to me. Tommy and Jude are endgame. Tommy and Jude are meant to be. Everybody knows that Tommy is the one for Jude. It's just it's gross, and, like, I can't even, like, fully dive into the individual episodes or seasons without constantly being reminded that this creepy older dude is, you know, pining over her and she's pining over him, and I'm just like, can we not?
Right. Fair.
character assassinations of Black girls. That's like another big, huge bone I have to pick with this show. They do a lot of great things with their budget, which I thought was very creative and very, very fun. They do a lot of great things with Jamie. I think he gets like a really great arc. I think Vince and Karma get a really great arc. The sabotage of Sadie and Quest's relationship literally made no fucking sense to me. So that's why the show for me is just like a solid basic, because the good is great and the bad is a clusterfuck.
Right. There you have it, folks. This is everything that we think made Instant Star good, bad, basic, and totally bingeable. If you'd like to check Instant Star, the complete series is currently streaming over on the Instant Star YouTube channel. Please leave your comments below and let us know what you think of this series. If you're a patron on our top 2 tiers, be sure to check out the Instant Star YouTube playlist. If you've enjoyed this episode of The Good, the Bad, the Basic, leave us a review on your preferred podcast streaming platform and share this with your friends.
And with that, The Good, the Bad, the Basic is officially going on holiday. Alex and I will be taking a 2-week mid-season break. We hope that everyone who celebrates it is continuing to have a happy Hanukkah, and we'd also like to wish those who celebrate it a happy Kwanzaa. We hope that you all have a joyous, festive holiday season and a happy new year. GBB and Season 4 Lights, Camera, Action will return on Thursday, January 16th with a recap of the NBC sitcom 30 Rock. If you'd like to check out the series before our episode airs, 30 Rock is currently streaming on Hulu.
Patrons, we hope that you all enjoyed yesterday's Christmas-themed music video retrospective. Em and I won't be leaving you hanging, and we plan to keep on releasing bonuses for you during our break, starting with another movie review featuring the romantic historical drama Titanic. This episode airs next Saturday, January 4th. Also, make sure that you're following us on Twitter and Instagram at Good Bad Basic Pod. We have 2 more surprise gifts waiting there for everyone, which will be revealed on New Year's Eve.
Follow The Good, the Bad, the Basic on all major podcast platforms to listen to all of our regular weekly episodes on the go. Leave us a review on your preferred platform and share our weekly episodes with your friends. Also, be sure to follow our SoundCloud page, The Good, the Bad, the Basic. If you love this sort of content and want more, become a show producer and patron on Patreon. You can find us at patreon.com/goodbadbasic. Your support allows us to keep bringing you our regular weekly episodes as well as exclusive bonus material. Until next time, bye everyone.